Podcasting from the world famous LWDL studio. This is Life with Dan and Lewis. I'm Dan.
And I'm Lewis.
And we're here to talk about life and all the wonderful, magical, horrible, awful, fantastic stuff inside that four-letter word. Life. Before we get too far in, if you hear anything you like today, feel free to go over to buymeacoffee.com/LWDL. Your support is greatly appreciated for this little adventure we are on. Hey, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
How was your week?
It was productive.
Oh, that's a good word to start with.
Yeah, definitely productive. Monday, double docket. Tuesday went into a jury trial. We needed to be done with the jury trial by Wednesday because defense counsel was going to start a federal jury trial out of county, and so yeah, and then it kind of wrapped up with today going like downhill to where everything just like settled and and mellowed out, and it ended as my judge walks into my office, gives me paperwork, and she was just like, you know what, we've been here long enough, get yourself, let's go, it's time to end the day. And so we were out of there before, because I have a tendency to try to wait a little bit until my judge leaves and walk her out. And today we were out of the office about 5:45, which normally I leave about maybe 6:15, 6:30-ish, which I can't leave sooner than that. I can leave at any point in time, but I try to just be there to walk her out, just give her that extra presence there as she's walking to her car. But other than that, it was a very productive, good week, and it ended off on a good note, and here I am enjoying my Friday night. And so how was your week?
Yeah, it was busy. I kept saying, I can't believe it's already Tuesday, already Wednesday, already Thursday, already Friday. It just felt like the whole week flew past. There was nothing really special going on. Just busy at work, and outside of the regular job, there's not a whole lot going on. I did a little bit of work on the car, and just a little bit of stuff around the house. The bowling league starts back up next week.
Got some badass headlights on.
I did get some badass headlights. Well, they're headlights. I don't know if I'd call them badass. It is a Prius after all. But
in a Prius.
Yeah. It just felt like the week flew past. It felt like September flew past. And then,
I totally agree.
It's still happening into October here. It's kind of crazy.
So I need a loan from this month on until the end of March.
Okay.
This month I have my dad's birthday and Alicia's birthday. Next month I have Aubrey's birthday and my birthday, and also Thanksgiving. The following month is my nephew's birthday, your birthday, my second oldest sister's birthday, Aiden's birthday. January I have my sister and my oldest nephew's birthday. February is Valentine's Day, and then March is spring break.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot going on at the end of the year.
So, and I excluded Christmas, but yeah, Christmas is in there too.
Right.
So, if anybody wants to give me $10,000, I will greatly appreciate it. I'm pretty sure all my gifts will cost less than that, but hey, let's just dream in the clouds and settle for whatever I get.
Yeah. Wow. I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah, it's going to be very expensive couple months, but hey, you know what? Just put a smile on somebody's face, make them happy. I'm not necessarily worried about the adults. I'm more so worried about the kids. Which is just two of them. So everybody else is just gonna get a card, or we're gonna say, hey, let's go out and have some drinks and and then just celebrate that way.
Right. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
What's in your cup?
What's in my cup? Today, I am drinking some frozen Jack and Coke.
Yeah, we did frozen Jack and Cokes with the Coke Zero ice cubes I made a couple days ago, and it was pretty good. It wasn't quite as flavorful as I was expecting, but I think that's just because we froze regular Coke, not like Coke syrup. So, I don't know. Would I do it again? Probably, if it was a hot summer day.
Yeah.
But not going to be a regular thing I do.
Maybe we can find the...
If we can find some Coke Zero syrup, maybe we can make like stronger ice cubes.
Yeah. I found this person on TikTok who was making it, so I sent it over to Dan, and we decided we were going to try it. But like I said, regular Coke is more flavorful. It has, it doesn't, when you freeze it, it doesn't freeze at the same level as something that doesn't have regular sugar in it.
I think that's part of it. Yeah.
And so it's good. It's a nice, this would be perfect for like a nice summer night.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna experiment and try it and keep going from there.
Yep. Hey, so first on our list to talk about today is letting others dictate your life. This is one of your topics, so I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, I was talking with some of my fellow coworkers, the clerks in my office, and as they were talking about like people doing this and people doing that in people's lives, and I was just sitting there thinking like so often we allow people to dictate our lives and how things should be, but they have no idea what's going on in our lives. For example, somebody can be like, oh, if you just get up and you do this and do this, you can make it to work on time and you'll never be late. But at the same time, they don't know if your kid is in a private school, you have to drive across town to take your kid to school and then drive across town to get to work. Or, if you're a single parent and you have more than one kid, or, or somebody says like, you can't afford to do this. Like, you make good money, but they don't know your living situation, like what, how many bills you have to pay or the amount of the bills you have to pay. And so it's like everybody wants to dictate what you should be doing or how things should be going in your life, but not understanding on the back end everything that you have to face and everything you have to go through,
right,
in order to just live and make it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like for me, I have a family of 4, including myself, and Dan, he's single, so our lives are different, but the same in certain ways. So with us understanding and knowing our lives and how our lives work out, it's easier because Dan works at home. It's easier for him to get up and be to work on time every single day.
Yeah.
For me, it's, I could have a detour because I'm on my way to take my daughter to school, and then, she gets sick and something, so I have to make a detour and take her to grandma's house, or I'm getting ready to leave the house and she's like, Daddy, I have to go potty. So I have to wait for her to finish pottying before I leave and take her to school. So
Sure.
There's so many different things that are involved in other people's lives. And I think that we, before we, force our opinion for some people on somebody else, we need to just stop and think like, do I really know enough of that person's life to actually harshly dictate to them what they should do compared to what I feel, what reality is, and compared to what I feel that they should do is totally different, totally different things. And so, it could be, I was telling Dan, he's been coaching me and telling me, because I'm getting ready to get a house, like the things to look forward to, the things to, to do and to expect and stuff like that. And he knows my life. He knows, details of my life. And it's different if somebody was on the outside, didn't know the next person's life, and be like, well, you're spending too much money on that. You're spending too much money on that. Cut that out of your life. Cut that out of your life, but not knowing the full history of the person and what they have to do. It's easily to offend people, and it's easily to ward off. Like, even though you're trying to be helpful, it's easy to have that being shunned away because you're coming off offensive. And although you're trying to help, but you have to fully understand where the other person is in their life at that moment in time, and then just go from there.
Right.
And so it's
yeah. I mean, I guess there's two sides to look at here. As the opinion giver, I guess just a word of caution to people that are so willing to give their opinion that you need to preface things with like, if I were you, or not knowing your whole situation. And you need to leave the door open a little bit. Don't speak in definites. That's a big thing about when you're trying to help people, Another thing is that you don't always have to help. Sometimes you can just listen. And you can just be like, man, that sucks. Or, oh, yeah, that's cool. Like, you don't have to offer your opinion necessarily. I think that's an important lesson that a lot of people need to learn too. Like, it's not always about problem solving and an opinion. Sometimes it just, that's a story. You don't need to fix everything.
You make a great point, because sometimes it's just about listening and just being, because sometimes people just want to vent.
Right.
And so you make a good point.
Someone's telling you about their crazy neighbor and whatnot. You don't need to be, well, have you thought about offering your neighbor, help with this and that? Or have we gotten them resources? No, just, man, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's just okay to listen and offer empathy.
Yeah, exactly. And if they ask for what
right.
you know.
Right. And then on the other hand, like, know that people don't know your whole story. So if they're offering their opinion, sometimes it's okay just to be like, okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'll think about that. I'll consider that, that kind of stuff. You don't need to tell them, well, I can't do that because I have to pay my mom's rent this month because my dad paid last month and my sister's paying next month. And, you don't have to give them the whole story. Just, okay, that's something I'll consider in my whole situation.
Yeah.
So just being more gentle with each other. I think that's what my, if I had to give advice on this situation, which maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should just go, man, you're right. But, just be gentle with each other, know that, sometimes you don't know the whole story and then sometimes the other person doesn't know the whole story. So
I think it's a give and take on both parts. Like, I think the person that is in a situation and somebody's trying to give them constructive criticism or whatnot, I think, let's not get so offended.
Right.
Somebody tries to express their opinion to them.
But I could also understand, like, if that keeps happening to them, they're going to get frustrated and they might just be like, you know what? You don't understand. You don't know my whole situation.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, whoa, like, I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm just trying to help. Well, you might have been the 10th person that didn't know the situation.
Yeah.
So,
and
I see both sides of it.
In a situation like that, I think that the person should, like, step up sooner and be like, you know what, like you said, I value your opinion, but at this moment in time, like, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But where I'm coming from is on a totally different street, area, whatever case may be.
Right.
And just go with that.
Right.
And,
Yeah, I said something to you the other day, and I don't remember what it was about. But your first comeback was, yeah, but I have kids. And I went, oh, you're right. That's different. You're right. I didn't think about that, and you're right. I would not have said the same thing if I would have thought there are little people also in the situation.
Yeah. And it's like, even at with that example, it's just like, it's nothing to get offensive over or to grow offensive.
You just had to remind me that, hey, we're in different spots.
Yeah, exactly.
And then as soon as I remembered, I was like, oh, completely different scenario then.
But I think you're totally right. Like, it's just about, understanding where the next person is coming from. And if you happen to forget, it's just like, it is whatever. And then, like, the person reminds you, like, hey, I can't do that because...
In that case, like, we know each other well enough that all you had to do is, like, a little simple reminder.
Yeah.
Like, but if it had been someone else, you might have just said, yeah, that might be an idea.
Yeah. And just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because, I think too much people try... like, not to step on other people's toes. So then, before they just come off totally.
Like, if this person saying to you doesn't know enough about you that they would know this, then is it worth you even explaining yourself to them?
Exactly.
That's what I'm getting at. Like, it's not even worth it.
Yeah. Do you really need to exert the energy into that when you can just save that energy for something else?
Yeah.
I get it.
And, like, do you need to explain it to them and they need to understand? And, like, you don't need to transfer that information. Like, no one needs that. So just... cool. Good idea. I'll think about it.
Yeah. Thanks. That's a great idea. I'll see how I can incorporate it.
Oh, man, I never thought about that. And just move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a couple friends we'd like to tell you about. But we'd also like to offer an opportunity for you to be one of our friends. We're actively pursuing new sponsorship options. So if you have anything you'd like to promote on our show or cross-promote, or otherwise, reach out to us at lifewithdanandlewis@gmail.com.
That's lifewithdanandlewis@gmail.com.
Until then, check out our current friends. The first one is Remoting Blog. Remote working, remoting. Follow along on a journey of a new job, new facility, new coworkers, and a new normal. Remote working, remoting. Inspired by real life, enhanced by imagination. Follow along at remotingblog.com.
Remoting Blog.
Another friend of ours is GFDF Eating. Eating gluten and dairy-free can be challenging. GFDF Eating aims to show all the delicious food you can make and buy without sacrificing taste, diversity, or quality. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook at GFDF Eating.
That's GFDF Eating.
We'd like to hear from you. After all, we are doing this for your entertainment. Drop us a note and let us know where you're listening from. Or if you have any ideas for new segments, things you'd like us to stop doing, do more of, do less of, or anything at all, email us at lifewithdanlewis@gmail.com.
That's at lifewithdanlewis@gmail.com.
Asking to charge your phone in public.
Do you guys have
That's
an app
not
that I
it.
can use for like 5 minutes?
I forget how to get to my liked videos.
Go to the heart. Go to, yeah.
No, it's the ones that you put with the little yellow thing on them.
The,
Oh, it's this one.
the little yellow thingy?
Yeah, below the heart on the app.
Oh, I never did that.
Okay. Okay, so last week on the show we talked about this user on TikTok. Her username was, I don't even have it anymore. But she talked about some... So last week on the show we talked about couple boundaries in a TikTok video in which this young lady talked about... Oh, that sounds bad. So last week on the show we talked about couple boundaries in this video on TikTok in which this lady talked about her and her husband's boundaries as a couple in college. And I said that I would look for some feedback on that, and I did find some other videos. So I thought we'd just play a couple here and then we discuss.
Very best to only have professors of the same gender as us.
I am flabbergasted. This is coming from a marriage and family therapy major. Now, I just want to let you know, the younger that you are married, the more likely you are that you get divorced. That is a statistic. If your boundaries are that your husband cannot sit next to the opposite sex, cannot comment on a class discussion board of the opposite sex, or have a freaking professor of the opposite sex, you have set your marriage, your relationship up for failure. Someone's gonna cheat, someone's gonna do something that's gonna piss the other one off, because those are a little bit extreme.
Our very best.
So that was user Gains and Bubble Braids. I read that again, yeah. Gains and Bubble Braids. Putting her opinion on it. And her opinion was a little bit educated. She does have a degree in, I forget what she said it was there. Some kind of a degree in relationship.
Best to only have professors of the
I'm
same.
going to get her name of her degree
gender
again.
as us.
I am flabbergasted. This is coming from a marriage.
So it's somewhat of an educated opinion. She does have a degree in marriage and family therapy. So a little bit of an educated opinion there. Let's see what else people had to say.
My boyfriend and I are entering our 3rd year of long distance in college, and here are some boundaries that we set straight off the bat going into freshman year. Number 1 is about going out on the weekend. This one is a big one for college couples, but my boyfriend and I basically just like tell each other when we're going out, and then we don't have to text each other like throughout the night or call each other or anything, but we just make sure to check in before bed. Just to tell each other we had a fun time and that we're back safe. And then we'll either talk about the night that night or the next morning. But we do not hold each other back at all, and I think that's super important. Another thing, we said we do not care if you have like girl or guy friends. We're adults, so I'm not going to tell him like you can't have any friends that are girls, and he's not going to tell me I can't have friends that are guys. Something we do is we just introduce our friends to each other. So like I'm friends with all his friends that are girls, and he's friends with my guy friends. The big overarching theme though is that you need to have a lot of trust. So let me know if you want another video on this.
All right, so that was TikTok user Fitness by Annie describing maybe what some healthier college couple relationship rules might be. I think I got one more here.
My boyfriend and I are going into our
this
third
is
year of
the
long
same
distance in college,
user.
and here are
Let's
some
talk about some
boundaries
more
that we
boundaries.
have set. But go watch part 1 first if you haven't already. So unlike what a lot of people would think, we set a boundary with communication. A lot of long distance couples think they need to be texting 24/7 and calling all the time, but my boyfriend and I tried to not overdo it. So we make it a goal to text throughout the day, but not too much, and we call every day, but we try to have quality over quantity call. But overall, setting a boundary around over communicating. Another boundary, which is kind of weird and people would be like, what, is we try not to see each other too much. And we end up seeing each other every 2 to 3 weeks, but we are only about an hour away from each other, so we could see each other literally every other day if we wanted to. But instead, we try to keep our own and separate lives while we're at college. Follow for more. My boyfriend and I are going in.
Yeah,
Hi
it's one here.
everyone, here's some boundaries my boyfriend and I have on our relationship in college. Rule number 1 is that we can't like group me messages of the opposite gender. Rule number 2 is that we have each other's social media passwords. Rule number 3 is that when we're walking to class, we can't walk next to anyone of the opposite gender. Rule number 4 is that we can't be friends with anyone with gender-neutral names in case we start having dirty thoughts of someone of the opposite gender with the same name. Hi everyone, here's some.
So that was TikTok user Jamie Knox with a 100% satirical response, giving just absolutely insane rules. Those were not real at all. She was doing it, making fun of the original TikTok user.
I was about to say, I was like,
Nah, I heard married couple
Bullshit.
in college and I
Right.
had to do it. So let's see what it is.
This one was my favorite.
Rule number 1 is we're not allowed to sit beside the opposite sex in any of our classes.
Oh my God.
Rule number 2 is on discussion boards, you are only allowed to reply to the same sex. Last night, Tucker saw this really good discussion board by
Yo,
a girl named Riley.
you
and
guys
I
are
just,
gonna be
I don't
divorced
feel
in a
comfortable with
year.
it. So, yeah, he didn't respond to her. Rule number 3.
You're so insecure, both of you.
We try our very best to only have professors of the same gender.
This is a
as us.
joke.
I do have one male psychology
You're
professor, but
kidding me.
Tucker usually sits in that class with me. Finally, at the
This
beginning
can't be
of every
real.
semester, during the introductions,
This
we
cannot
both
be
are
real.
Sure to mention that we're married, just so that no one,
Ew, you
tries to cross
fucking
any
weirdo.
boundaries.
I think that pretty much sums it up the best right there.
definitely.
Yeah, so that the second to last one there with the other rules that were crazy, that was definitely made in farce. She was making fun of the other one. Yeah, so the one difference between the middle 2 videos that we played there and the one from last week is the one this week, she is long distance. The other one is in person, but I think the rules still apply. And there are some things that I didn't really quite agree with the long distance one, in that they're not really long distance. They're only an hour apart.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So it seemed like, only seeing each other once every 2 or 3 weeks, maybe it's healthy for them. And that, like she said, they're living their own lives where they're at college, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how long they've been together.
Yeah, my thing is if,
An hour apart seems like you should at least see each other every weekend.
well, for us, living in San Antonio, that's like from here to Austin.
Right.
Like, my thing is just like, okay, well, Friday, if I have no classes, well, I'm going to drive down to San Antonio. And if I'm living in Austin or if I'm living in San Antonio,
Right.
drive up to Austin, so at least Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then if my classes don't start super early on Monday,
Right.
I have time to get up and drive back to whatever city I live in. That's a little far-fetched for me, being that it's only an hour away.
Right.
Now, if it was 2-3 hours away, then I'm just like, well,
Once every couple of weeks, that makes more sense.
yeah.
But I think overall that was a much healthier set of rules and much more realistic and healthier in the sense that I think that they are setting each other up for success with the rules, whereas the other one was definitely setting themselves up for failure if those were real. Now, I did browse her TikTok account and she doesn't acknowledge that anything was not real, but she has a lot of videos that I believe to be satirical or, some kind of a stance on society.
Yeah.
Because she also does these videos about being a good housewife and stuff. So I don't know. I think that account is just sort of BS, just out there to drum shit up and stir up and gain popularity based on outrageous opinions.
I do
But
too.
still, it's spurring conversation. And I think that's always good.
Yeah. My thing is, like, there's one that was just like, you're not allowed to look at the opposite sex. Like, come the freak on.
Yeah.
Like,
The one that really drew the line for me, there's two: responding to someone on a discussion board and professors.
Yeah.
Those two are just so unrealistic that
Yeah.
I just don't even. Those are the ones that I was like, I don't think it's gonna be real.
What, you gonna go to the the dean and be like, hey, I can't take this
There
class
are
because they're
chances
opposite.
that in your junior and senior year in your major classes, there might only be one professor. So
I agree.
you're going to go with your spouse to all their classes to make sure everything's okay?
Yeah.
That's
right?
ridiculous.
You're going to sit right there next to them like a freaking idiot.
Right.
Like,
I know of firsthand instances of that in which that ended up or was an abusive relationship.
yeah.
Where the guy was coming to her classes all the time.
That's a non-healthy relationship.
Yeah. So
And
it's like
if you're in
setting
a
yourself up for
relationship like that, you need to get out.
Yeah.
That's not
You,
healthy.
you need to set boundaries in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Alicia and I talk about this all the time. We're gonna see somebody else of the opposite sex that we're gonna find attractive. Like,
that's life.
So Alicia and I talk about this all the time. Like, we're gonna see people of the opposite sex that we find attractive, but does that allow us to do something with that? No. You're just human, and
you're
you
going to
find
work with
somebody
people.
else.
You're going to interact with people. You're going to see waitresses at restaurants. You're going to see tellers at banks. You're going to see officers at entrances to buildings or events or people in movies. There's just like life is meant to excite us in a variety of different ways, and sometimes that excitement is looking at someone that we think is attractive.
Exactly.
That's part of life.
Yeah. And like my thing is like physical features, and sometimes Alicia catches me and she was like, "You're staring at her boobs or you're staring at her butt," and I'm just like, I mean, yes,
right.
But at the same time, it's just like and she doesn't get mad about it because
there's an explicit understanding there that you're happy with her. So even if you are looking like,
I just like boobs and butts,
right?
On
I can
women.
still look at that. Yeah.
It's just like her. She, sees a muscular man, and she was like, "Hey,
sure,
he's attractive." Like, okay, but you're not, you're not going up there feeling on him. Oh, like your muscles are good,
right?
Or,
and she's not going to just leave you for him because she looked at him. Like,
yeah, exactly. And it's so stupid things of people who are in relationships, like little small stupid, like that's like really so dumb and immature.
Right?
You're really gonna get mad at your spouse because they see somebody like, oh, she's cute, he's attractive, or whatever the case.
Right.
Like, if that's the case, just be with yourself. Go get a rock, name that rock your person, and you just be with that rock.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
Agreed. Hey, so another thing I wanted to talk about is one of the hot stories right now in the YouTube social media influencer entertainer world, and that's the Try Guys controversy. And I'm not going to go into step by step what's going on there, but if you're interested in that, I'd strongly suggest you go Google it. But basically what happened, there were 4 Try Guys, now there's 3. The Ned Fulmer was the 4th Try Guy, and he was known as the family guy pretty much. He was married and had 2 kids, has 2 kids. Ned was caught in public by a fan at a club with someone else, and they were aggressively making out. And this someone else was one of his employees. So sort of a double whammy situation here. So ultimately Ned was fired from the Try Guys, and it doesn't sound like he was fighting that too much. I think he agrees that there's 2 sets of rules broken here. One, a real rule. He was in a position of power over this person at work, and he had a relationship with her. It was a consensual relationship. They both acknowledged that, but ultimately that breaks company guidelines, company policy. Second, it breaks brand identity here because, Ned's the family Try Guy. His wife is in videos. She's on one of their podcasts that they produce. His kids have been in videos. So it greatly breaks the brand that he has built himself up to be. And as an influencer, you have to respect your brand. And if you don't, ultimately it's not good for the brand as a whole. And when you have a brand that is built around 4 different people that have different personalities, and one of them breaks their personality, they're not only affecting themselves, their brand, but they're not only affecting themselves and their brand, their personal brand, but they're affecting the business's brand as part of that business. So ultimately, Ned did screw up. I think that's pretty straightforward to say. And I guess I understand where the other Try Guys are coming from in that they are personally hurt that this happened. They were friends with him and they were business partners, and he sort of broke like both rules or both like relationships. But I wish there was a way that that he could have continued on with the Try Guys and we could have seen how someone works through this kind of thing. One of the things that I don't like about YouTube, and I don't like about influencers in general, is that they have a tendency, and we have a tendency, to believe that we're seeing everything and that everything is always so great. And I really like it when influencers and YouTubers show the dirtier, grittier, nastier parts of life, because it helps us all understand that we are not alone in what we're going through.
Exactly. I totally agree. Because sometimes I watch, there's several couples that I watch on YouTube while I'm working, you know, sometimes just to have noise in the background. And then, you know, I do pay attention. If I find something very interesting, then I watch it when I get home.
Sure.
But I love the realness of it.
Right.
Because I'm sorry, every day it's not going to be just sunshine and birds chirping and everything. Like, tell me what a real relationship looks like.
Well, not only that, tell me what real life looks like. We've talked about this before. There's a couple that I like to watch, Eamon and Beck.
Yes.
And Beck went through breast cancer, and thankfully now she's recovering from that. She is cancer-free, recovering and getting back to her normal active life. But they showed that. Even though I'm sure that was very difficult to want to document that and to pick up the camera and record all the time when she wasn't feeling good and he wasn't feeling good because she wasn't feeling good. But ultimately, they showed what real life is like. And I wish there was a way that Ned can show us what this is like to go through. And I get that it's hard to do when there's a business, when there's you work somewhere and you've broken rules, so you have to get fired. But I just wish there was a way. I think people are being as transparent as possible. You know, they couldn't talk about it until after he was fired, and they still can't talk about like real specifics with the other employee. With him, it's a little bit different because he's like an owner of the brand, and he's made public statements and whatnot. So the other Try Guys can talk about it a little bit more, and a full legal review has already been done, and all that part has been taken care of. I guess what I'm saying is I'd like Ned to start his own channel right now, capture the spotlight, even though it's a very negative spotlight right now, and show us what it's like to recover from something like this.
You know, even though like I totally agree with what you're saying.
I hate to say that like someone should be like click grab from this negative attention and view grab from this negative attention, but ultimately that's the world we live in. Take advantage of it right now and grow your own channel, showing how you're going to recover from this and how your family's ultimately going to end up better.
Yeah, you know what? It is negative attention, but guess what? This is everyday life.
Be the most hated person on YouTube for right now.
Do it.
Embrace it. Learn from it. Move on and show us how you do it.
Because how many other people out there, you know, wives, husbands, kids are facing the same exact thing.
That's what I'm saying.
And it you know, ultimately it can be therapeutic.
Right. And I think that this area of life, this cheating, breaking a family up, putting a family back together, healing and moving on, is one of the last parts of life that we don't like to talk about. You know, we talk about mental health a lot. We talk about the ugly sides of that. We talk about you know, different sexual addictions, alcohol addictions, drug addictions, all that kind of stuff. But we don't talk about what happens when someone cheats.
Exactly.
Out in the open.
Yeah.
Oftentimes what we do then is go, oh, we're giving them space to heal. Let's look at what that space looks like, and let's look at what that healing looks like, and let's look at it under a spotlight with the camera on and show other people how that can successfully happen. Even if his family ends up not coming out of this looking the same.
Yeah.
Show us how that looks.
At least he was brave enough to do it.
Right.
Because there's so many of us.
And I'm not saying that we should be calling him brave yet.
Yeah.
Right now, he's still the most hated guy on YouTube, in my opinion. But I think this is an opportunity to help other people through his situation.
Yeah.
And not just his situation. We shouldn't just be saying his situation. Really, it's his family situation.
Correct.
You know, his kids are young enough that they're probably not going to know what's going on exactly. Mm-hmm. But his wife certainly is. I mean, she's involved with the Try Guys. She has a podcast with other of the Try Guys' girlfriends and wives. And she probably interacted with the person that he cheated with.
Probably.
So
more than likely.
It's that's rough too. And ultimately, I don't think we'll know what happens to the person that he cheated on with unless she makes a statement, because she's just like an employee, so they're not gonna
she's nobody
release a statement. She is in some videos.
Well, she's a somebody but a nobody.
She was a rising YouTube person. There was a series of videos that it was her and another executive producer that were hosting them. And, you know, ultimately I'd like to hear her side of the story too. Now, there were confirmed reports that she got some death threats. Essentially for breaking up Ned and Ariel, his wife, and the Try Guys. However, there's two people in a relationship, and this was a consensual relationship. It's been very, very acknowledged. This was a consensual relationship. So
you don't threaten her, you gotta threaten him too. Right.
Ultimately, no one should get death threats over this. This is an example of life happens and things break up, groups break up, and people move on. And, I think there should be an opportunity for us to see how that looks.
Yeah. I think for so much, I would say about the viewers, so much of viewers looking at stuff, we put so much of our faith and trust into these people and they become idols in our world that we think that like, oh my God, they're just so perfect. And when they do something that's wrong, then we're like, now we got to kill them, or we got to kill the person who messed up the perfect ideal world of, the person that we're looking at. But hey, we're all human. Like, okay, so let's take it out of these people being idols, and they're just everyday normal humans, and they're going to mess up.
Right.
And I think that's so much about like our podcast is we're humans, and we try to express that on a daily basis. Like, there's going to be some times that, excuse my French, excuse my language, we're going to fuck up.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a part of life.
And I hope that we are able to talk about those right as they're happening or shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do here. We talk about life.
Yeah. And that's incorporated into the life. And, him and her, was it wrong? Yes, morally, it was wrong because he is married and he shouldn't have stepped out of his relationship.
And it was wrong because he agreed to a set of rules at work.
Yeah, exactly.
And he broke those conduct rules. So, I mean, was it wrong? Yes, on multiple levels. But ultimately, it's life. Let's learn from it. Let's move on and learn from it.
Yeah. And our listeners that are out there that has had, a spouse cheat and,
or if you were the one that cheated,
it's, we're not saying that the hurt and the pain that resolve from that is not like, it's something that you guys will have to work out and deal with. And it's, in this situation, this guy just happened to be famous.
Sure.
In his own right.
Yeah, right. I see what you're saying. So take the same situation, and what if there hadn't been fans of him there to take that picture?
Exactly.
How many times has that happened and we don't even know about it?
Exactly. Or, and so it's just like, as my mother always says, what's done in the dark is always going to come to the light.
Right.
And at some point in time, it's going to be brought to the light. And it's in that very moment when the other spouse finds out about the spouse cheating, it's like at that moment in time, what do you do? How do you handle the situation? And if it's just a spouse, him and her, it's easier to be dealt with than if it's kids that are involved. Because then you have other emotions, other people, other humans that are affected by this.
Other responsibilities, right.
Yeah, because not only do you have to make sure yourself is okay, you have to check on the children that are involved into this relationship to make sure that they're okay. Not alone if there's children with the person that you're cheating on with.
Oh, right.
Into the relationship. So it's a web that can evolve from just two that can spread out dramatically. And it's just like, how do you handle the downfall of everything that happens once it's exposed?
Right.
And, of course, people on YouTube that they have listened to them, you feel some type of way. But take the opportunity. I mean, I'm not going to say see it from his viewpoint, but take the opportunity to understand that one, he's not a god. He's not an idol. You have positioned him into this point to where you think that he's a god, he's an idol, and you're like, he can do no wrong. He's just a human, and human make mistakes. I'm not condoning what he did is right, and I'm not going to judge him for it because. We all do our wrong, and it's a very touchy and hard subject when it comes to people who are married and have kids and one of the spouses cheat. It's a very touchy and hard subject. Yeah. And I'm not going to get involved in that because I don't want to offend or say anything wrong about our listeners who have experienced that.
Right.
But it's for somebody who is a YouTube star. At the end of the day, he is a human. What he did was wrong, and we acknowledge that he was wrong. But maybe at some point he'll come out and express everything that has happened, and hopefully, he can get his wife, and hopefully they stay together and work it out, and also the lady, and express I think how it happened and
an
stuff.
interview series with the 3 people involved
Yeah,
would be fascinating.
it would be fascinating. It would be phenomenal.
Absolutely
if they can
fascinating.
Do that. Because
In the same way that I found Eamon and Beck's journey fascinating, because it was a glimpse into human life that we don't get to see.
yeah,
I think that would be just fantastic. Maybe this is just an example of, humans sort of have a voyeuristic trend sort of built in. Like we like to watch without being seen.
yeah,
I think that's sort of like something that's kind of baked inside of us a little bit.
yeah.
So it'd just be nice to watch the situation unfold in like an interview fashion where you see all 3 sides.
I'll be very interested, and I would love to see, even if they have multiple different interviews, episodes regarding this, where the 3 sit down. But I definitely want to see the wife's point of view and how
Yeah.
it made her feel, how she's dealing with it, like
Right.
if she chooses to stay, why?
Yeah.
If she chooses to go, ultimately, why? But
yeah.
her true feeling and emotions behind it. You know what? And I think that if they do all 3 decide to do an interview or a series of interviews, I think for the wife, this is going to be very therapeutic for her because she's not holding it in; she's releasing it.
Right.
And in releasing the hurt, the anger, the sadness, whatever emotion may come up, ultimately she's healing from within, but she's expressing herself, and it may be out there to help somebody else.
Right. I think in my mind, I'm envisioning it as an interviewer sitting behind the camera, single camera on the person, each interview done separately. The same set of questions asked to all 3, and then it could be creatively cut together to tell the story by jumping between the 3 different people talking. And you could stitch together this very intimate dive into what happens when someone cheats.
Yeah.
Both leading up to it, the event, and how you deal with it after.
Yeah.
Because it's very interesting that everyone, leading up to it, everyone's quite happy.
Yeah.
As it's going on, everyone's still quite happy. But perhaps we start to see the people, the one that caught in the middle, being pulled in 2 different directions. And then the truth comes out, and all of a sudden, the guy that did the cheating is hated. The girl he cheated with is hated. And the wife is
going through hell for the most part.
But the way that she's perceived now from the outside is with sadness and
kind of like the victim
sympathy.
person. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So there's this shift, and sort of everyone sort of turns upside down, and then the extremities, the women on the on the 2 ends, take the opposite flip. One gets viewed very sympathetically, and one gets hated. Whereas everyone was happy prior to this happening.
Everything pivots.
Yeah, it's a shift and a pivot in opposite directions.
Yeah.
And I just think that would be a really cool series to do.
Because I really want to hear and see if this does happen. The guy and the 2 cheaters, before the first initial cheating happens, they both know that this is wrong. But what made them do it anyway?
Right.
And with the woman knowing that he has a wife and a family,
right?
What in your mind made you think that this was okay to do? Because you still have the power to say, yes, we flirted, yes, we did this, but no,
never took it any
can't.
further. Right.
Yeah. Like what in your mind made you think that this was okay to do?
Why'd you cross the line? Yeah.
Was it because you thought that you're never going to get caught?
Right.
Was it because you think
and then
that,
why in public? Like there's like layers to the question.
Yeah. Like, did you think that this is just going to be a one-time thing and then that was going to be it?
Was it a one-time thing? I think.
Yeah.
I think part of this needs to be an investigation of what happened.
Yeah.
Done through interview with the 3 people.
Yeah.
And then continuing the interview with the 3 people, just walking through it, walking through what happens now, and then I would love to see a sit down. All 3 of them in the same room where they can talk to each other and sort of ask whatever. It's more for Ariel, the wife, to talk to the other two. That's really more what this is here, because there's really less questioning back the other way.
Yeah, because
Potentially,
Yeah.
we don't know. There could be other circumstances going on that I don't know. There's lots of speculation here. It doesn't make it any less wrong, but there could be interesting things that could come out in this whole discussion. But I would like to see them all in the same room also,
yeah,
openly discussing what went on. And that takes some big people to do. I don't know if, I just don't, I don't know these people at all personally. So I don't know if they're the kind of people that could do that or not. That takes some,
without some security officers in the room.
not even that. It takes a person that is very in touch with their emotions and able to almost compartmentalize and analyze in a different way. And some people just aren't able to do that.
Yeah, and I feel like if something like this was to happen, it's like the last part to be like, you know what, I'm just going to kind of like forgive and forget.
In a way,
It's just like
you can't
closure.
blame in that moment. You just
Yeah.
need to like sort of discuss
Why?
and then step back, and then like later you could do whatever you want in your head and blame whoever you want. But in that moment, you're just sort of fact gathering
Yeah.
and airing things out.
Which the real question would be like, why?
Right.
You know, it's just like as
And I'm curious. I'm curious about things like, is Ariel mad at the girl he cheated with? I mean, the girl he cheated with definitely knew about Ariel, but if it was a consensual thing, it's not like the girl lured Ned into this.
yeah.
They both agreed to go into this thing. So there's
think-
not a lot of blame to be put on anyone other than Ned for like breaking his marriage vows. Like that's like a thing.
Because he had ultimately he is the one that has the, and I'm not trying to bash him, but ultimately
He kind of did all the bad here.
he is the one who, I mean, in a relationship, a faithfully committed relationship, the opposite sex can hit on the other person as many times as they want, but ultimately the power for us to say if we're going to cheat or not lies within ourselves.
Right.
And so it's just like Ned is ultimately at fault at this.
He can't be like, oh, well, she was hitting on me, I finally gave in. Well, you finally gave in. Like you
were the one that finally gave in.
Yeah. She's not in a relationship. So at worst, she engaged in a consensual workplace relationship that wasn't quite kosher. But
yeah.
And she knew about like the relationship, so it's sort of morally and ethically questionable.
True.
But less so than the person who is married, where it's clearly ethically questionable. Or ethically wrong. Not even questionable, ethically wrong.
Yeah. Because, you're going to have men and women, they're going to go after the opposite sex, knowing that they're in a relationship, married, engaged, dating, or whatever. They're just going to do it because they just want to.
Right.
But the power lies within the person that is in that faithfully committed relationship to say, hey, okay, I'm going to step out. And ultimately, I don't agree when people say, oh, I was weak. No, that's bullshit. Like, you have the power to say yes or no.
Right.
If you say, oh, I was weak and I gave in to my flesh, like, no, I think that's just bullshit.
You still made a decision.
You made the conscious decision that you're going to step outside your relationship and do what you did. Like, There's no fucking weakness or in this or not. It's a pretty much decision of what I want to do, and I'm going to do it.
Right.
You know.
Anyways, I hope we do get to see more of this. Maybe whether it's just the voyeuristic, bent in me that wants to see more of this, or
I do too.
I think there is good to come out of every bad situation. And I just hope we can get an insight into this bad situation,
True.
so that humanity can grow as a whole, and maybe someone else that's going through something similar can be helped.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity to use a platform that, even though he doesn't have the Try Guys platform, his name is all over the place right now. Take advantage of it. Start your own YouTube channel. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
And also, if anyone can get me in contact with him, I would love to do these interviews.
Exactly. We would both love to do this. And I think that it's a beginning point. Like, okay, you have done wrong. You're viewed as being negative right now. Okay, let's start your new branding as
the guy who owns this.
Yeah.
and
then,
shows how we move on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and it takes, it basically takes in the beginning owning what you have done and then just moving on from there.
Right.
Because I mean, all your listeners want to know.
Right.
All your followers want to know. You know, half are going to support you, half are going to be mad at you. But guess what?
I don't know if anyone's going to support him at this point. I think he's you know, pretty much the most hated guy on the internet right now. But I think he can own that and work towards being better and show us how that's done.
You know, I think that his followers who go into it with an open mind and just truly want to hear what happened and how it happened will still be by his side. They may hate him for a little bit. They may be mad at him, but they'll still be by his side because they want to hear a story,
right?
What led up to it and what caused him to do what he did. Right. And then go from there.
And I think this is an opportunity to strike while the iron's hot, to start this now.
Yes.
Don't wait till this is over and then tell your story.
Yeah.
Tell it as we're going through it.
Exactly.
That's my take. We've talked a lot about this already, so let's just leave it at that. And hopefully we do get to see those interviews sometime in the future.
I agree.
Anything coming up this week for you?
Tomorrow I have the nominee walk. It's the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which my judge happily became a member of. Was asked to become a member of, and so it's tomorrow at 7:30 in the morning at the San Antonio Zoo. So no sleeping in for me tomorrow. But I'm going to go and participate in that. And then on Sunday, it's the National Day of the Girl, International Day or National Day of the Girl, one of those two. And so I'm going to be taking the Aubrey over to that. It's going to be at Hemisphere Park with a lot of influential women in San Antonio that are going to be there. And I was also invited to bring my daughter by my judge. And she was going to be a guest speaker along with other female judges. And that's pretty much going to be my weekend. May try to get some church in there in the morning before that and then just go from there.
Wow, that sounds like a busy weekend.
What about you?
Yeah, nothing really planned. I do have a work session planned for tomorrow. Might try to get some golf in maybe before that, hit a bucket of ball or something, and maybe get around in Sunday. But we'll see what it takes us. Other than that, just cleaning up around the house. I do want to get a good wash in on the car. Just need to hand scrub it. You know, I've been taking it through the machine washes, and it just looks a little dingy still.
Every so often, give it that tender loving care.
Exactly. Other than that, no, nothing really going on. Just more of the same old thing. And get rested up, ready to do a whole another week.
Sounds good. That's pretty much the same thing here.
Well, that's it for today. Remember to check us out on all the social medias. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Life with Dan and Lewis.
That's at Life with Dan and Lewis.
Thanks for listening today. More episodes can be found anywhere podcasts are found or on our website at lwdl.buzzsprout.com.
That's lwdl.buzzsprout.com.
Remember to check us out on YouTube too. Our episodes are all posted there for your listening enjoyment. Until next time, ask yourself, what have you done today to help someone else? Make good choices.
And love one another.